Welcome back to Mrs. DeVita's art room. Today we're going to draw an adorable winter bunny picture. So what you need is a piece of paper, a pencil, and any kind of art supplies that you want to use. Let's get set. All right, so first for our cute bunnies, what we're going to do is we're going to start with 2 circles for the heads. Do them a little sketchily. And then what we're going to do is an oval for the body. And your ovals and your circles do not have to be perfect because remember you're making an animal, so you do not want it to be absolutely perfect because you're doing something from nature. And this oval right here is going to kind of overlap this oval right here. It's going to look a little bit like a potato. Gonna come down and bring the neck down. If you find that your neck looks a little too long, you can always bring your circle up. Remember, you can erase. That's why you want to draw kind of light and sketchy. We got our baby bunny here. You can bring your baby bunny's body out a little bit. Now for the ears, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up and we're gonna do some kind of elongated ovals. A little bit pointy on the end there. And maybe have this other ear shifted off to the side just a bit. All right. Like I said, as you go along, you can kind of look at it and see if you need to make any adjustments. Baby bunny here is going to have smaller ears. You can always make the head turn to the side just a little bit more. All right. So I'm kind of keeping it kind of sketch-like. And come down. Their little bunny tails. And adjust as you need to. Of course, if you need to grab an eraser, erase out your lines. All right, so right now we have our bunny's bodies. What we're gonna do is we're gonna work on our background and our mountains and our winter trees. So for your mountains, you want to avoid them being too zigzaggy. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up. We're going to make a slightly rolling line with a bit of overlapping. And then to make the snow, kind of divide it up there. Your bunnies are looking towards the mountains, which is why you just see the back of them and then their tails. So we've got our mountains in there. All right. Come back and erase a little bit of this off the bunny's body here. We'll get back into the bunnies in just a moment. So for our winter trees, what you're going to want to do is figure out if you want them to be further away. If you want them to be a little larger, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the triangles. If you want that to come down a little more below the base of the mountain, maybe for this one, instead of having just 2 trees, I'm going to have, maybe I want to do 3. I could make a portion of a tree kind of coming into my picture right here that the bunnies are behind. All right, so I've got my triangles here. What I'm going to want to do is once I've got my triangles, I'm going to kind of come in with some lines like this to kind of make it look a little bit more natural. Maybe make the tree a little pointier. Come up. Gives me my shape of my evergreen tree. You can always make a trunk if you would like. In this particular drawing, I'm not going to do a trunk. And then maybe one that is coming off the edge here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I've got my mountains in there. If I'm making a nighttime scene, I might be coming in with like maybe a full moon, maybe a little crescent moon. It's got a, we call it a banana moon. And once I'm done with my landscape here, I'm going to come in. I'm going to start kind of adjusting my shading on my bunnies. You can either use your finger or if you can use one of those blenders. Now any lines where any of the ears or body parts connect, you can kind of come back in with an eraser. You can use a gum eraser, you can use a larger rubber eraser, you can use your eraser and your pencil, whatever you have handy. and kind of come around. Now you can change your background landscape if you would like. And for this particular picture, even though it is landscape, I did choose the portrait mode for my paper, just because of the fact that my bunnies are upright and they're looking at the mountains back there. That way I could fit all of my bunnies in. I'm gonna kind of shape this head a little differently. Again, if I wanted to, I could make the baby bunny a little bit shorter. All right, I'm gonna come around this outline here. I kind of think of, now I've got everything kind of sketched in there. Now what you can do, once you've got everything kind of in, you wanna think about how you're gonna do some shading in your mountains. You can either use the side of your pencil, and again, whatever you have handy, or whatever your preference is, you could use watercolor paint for this, you could use color pencils, you could use Posca pens. It's really entirely up to you as far as your preference goes. Now think about as far as your moon. Your moon is your light source, so it would be hitting this particular side of the bunny, so you might have some highlights on the ear. So we want to think about that in terms of doing our shading. And remember that your mountains are made out of their rock. So they don't have, you don't want necessarily for them to necessarily be smooth. If you do want it to be smooth, you can come in and you can make it a bit smoother. We're gonna have some shading in between our bunny's ears, just because of the fact that that's gonna be dark back behind, and that will pop your bunnies kind of forward. Now, I chose to have my bunnies white in here, but you could do, a lot of wild bunnies oftentimes are brown, so you could have brown bunnies. You could have kind of a yellowish bunny, gray bunnies. So that's entirely up to you. And again, you're not going to see faces on your bunnies because they're facing the mountains. And then you can start with your coloring. Now, you probably want to get some winter colors and lots of cool colors in here because you've got a winter scene. So thinking about blues and greens for the majority, you might want to have some shadow like where your bunnies are sitting. In order to do your shadow here, what you're going to want to do is probably take your pencil on its side, and again, kind of get a little shadow going on there below, like where the bunnies are sitting. You can take a little bit of blues into there. Little blues on your snow. Maybe a little blues into the mountains. Do a little blending. Now, one thing I use for the sky on this is if you do have any Poscas or any kind of paint markers at home for this, these Sharpie paint markers work pretty well, similar to the Poscas, and they are permanent. You've got a really nice kind of brush tip here. You can come in and you can kind of get that sky. You can go around the edges of your rabbits. Just kind of get that real quickly. That outer edge. And I'm kind of getting that sky kind of in. Around my little crescent moon. And again, I'm not going to do the entirety of the sky right now, but you could always come in. You can come in with white pastel if you want to do stars, if you want to do snow. You come in and do some little snowflakes, some little stars, depending what you want into your background there. As far as coloring your trees go, if you want to do snowy trees, coming in on the bottom of where your branches would lay. and then leaving a bunch of parts of it white so that you get that illusion of it being a snowy fir tree. And you might want to do some layering as far as with your colors. Again, some shadows for your trees as well. And there we have it. So I'm going to stop right here. And again, it's up to you in terms of how you want to finish your bunny picture. You might want to come around it when you get done and just kind of bring the outline of the bunnies out. Just to kind of pop it out a little bit. You could always come around it with a pin. And that will kind of, again, sharpen up some of your details. All right, thank you and happy drawing.